Are you looking for a podcast where you can hear from real people regarding their real dental drama? If so, then you've come to the right place. Join hosts Bethany Petty and Dr. Rena Kuba as we dive into the solutions we've created and the mistakes we've made while managing dental drama. Let's get started. Welcome to today's episode. I am excited to talk about a subject that, again, I feel like we're revisiting some of the ones that we talked about many months ago, and I feel like the environment has changed and we need to revisit some of these subject matters. So one of the subjects that is coming up almost on a daily basis for me right now is insurance. And we had an episode almost a year ago where we talked about just the insurance changes and how dentistry's really got to get away from its dependency upon insurance. But in all honesty, there's been a lot of changes even within that last year. You yourself have been walking through some insurance changes that I wanted you to talk about with listeners so that they can kind of understand the process that you went through. I think this will be really helpful, hopefully, to all listeners to kind of take a new look at the insurance world. So where do you want to start? You want to start with your example first and kind of what you've been walking through?
I'm happy to. However, I guess to me it wasn't really a planned, thought out, strategic. It's almost like, insurance is something that I try not to think about and to look at just because it's gotten so confusing. So when I started, 12 years ago with my own stuff, I remember negotiating my own contracts. Mm-hmm. I don't even remember how did I get a hold of Cigna or how did I get a hold of Humana? I can't even remember, but I do remember negotiating those, and it is night and day different now than it was then. So a couple years ago, we hired a company that helps us, what is the word they use? Maximize or I'll come up with the word here in a minute, but basically, for example, I remember I resisted signing up with MetLife initially 12 years ago because they wouldn't do any special rates for specialists. Mm-hmm. And I was like looking at their fee schedule and I was like, this is a joke, right? And so for the first 6 months, 8 months, I didn't sign with them. And then a lot of our patients were MetLife patients. Yeah. And so I finally just kind of bit the bullet and went, okay, even though being out of network, they still pay, right? But patient understanding of that. And of course, back then I didn't have great verbiage to, not that it would have mattered. Honestly, right. My patients wouldn't have mattered. I think they were always suspicious of going, well, you're out of network, never mind, and not even listening to anything else. So I think with MetLife, I finally got frustrated. I was with them for a couple of years, and I think, so I literally was like, oh, I'm quitting, and I dropped it. Well, it turns out then, this company helped us now, because there are all of these, parent companies, yes, like Carrington, for example. Mm-hmm. I think there was one called Dentamax we were with for a while, and so these parent companies that have this big umbrella, and so they negotiate with MetLife for you. So you can be in network with MetLife even though you're not in network with MetLife. And I'm like, what are you saying here right now? Are we talking in circles or am I missing? But it's I could either be directly in network and or be, I forget the word that they're using.
I call them umbrella companies. So some of them, are contracted under these umbrella companies. It's their way of sneaking into
optimization. Yes. That's the word they use. This company uses. We optimize. So yes, so this umbrella company, for example, Carrington, and they have their own negotiations with MetLife PDP Plus plan. So not all MetLife plans, but this one. Yes. And then they have a sub contract with, I don't know, United Healthcare, but it's only these certain United Healthcares. Yes. And then Blue Cross Blue Shield. So patients would say, well, are you in network with them? I'm like, I really don't know, because do I have a direct that I have reached out to Blue Cross or they've reached out to me and we've signed something? No, that's never happened. However, because we are Carrington, we do have a contract with Carrington, and this year Carrington happens to have a negotiation with Blue Cross.
Exactly.
So it's just gotten more convoluted and it's really hard to tell. So when people ask, I'm like, I really don't know. It's going to depend on your employer, which of course then the backlash is on the dentist. What do you mean you don't know? You're trying to be shady. all of that. And I'm like, but I don't think they really understand the complexity we're up against.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'd gotten out of network with MetLife years ago, and basically zero strategy behind that. It was really just me having a temper tantrum. I'm not even kidding. I finally was super annoyed. My patients are very needy in how many discussions we have to have. There are a lot of our patients that don't understand what a cavity is. No joke, just yesterday alone, I had a dad first thing in the morning, and he was like, but we've been brushing really well. Uh-huh. Well, won't that take care of it? No. There's a hole there, sir. Yeah. You've got to repair, patch that up.
Right.
So my patients are very, very needy with how much time they need. They're going to call multiple offices. They're going to, so anyway, all of that back in that time, we may have gotten 3 phone calls regarding an occlusal composite on tooth A.
Right.
And each of those phone calls lasting between 30 and 45 minutes. Yeah. So knowing, and this was back in the day, let's assume it was cheap and I was paying my front desk $10 an hour, which I wasn't.
Right.
Pre-COVID, that was possible. So, you know what I mean? So like 3 30-minute phone calls for easy math was going to cost me, I don't even know what is the math on that, $15?
Right.
Well, when MetLife is going to pay me $30,
yeah, you're like, this is not adding up.
This is not adding up. And so I think I just had one of those moments where I was like, this parent was ridiculous. The kid was difficult to get the treatment through. And I was setting complete. We have Dentrix. So I was setting complete. And I glanced at the ledger and I just about, I don't know how I kept the expletive in my head, but I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that is what I got paid? I think I lost money on this whole, exchange because of the number, how much time I had to spend talking to the parent, how many phone calls they made, how much time I had to spend with the kid. Like, there is no way. If I got paid anything on that, I probably got paid $10, if that. Like, it was foolish. And I think that's the day I was like, I'm done. Yeah. I'm done with MetLife. It was also a point in the practice. I think the practice had been there about 4-ish years. And I was really not liking my staff. This is right around when we hired you. But I was like, I hate the staff. I hate this MetLife. So fine, we're going to drop it. And I'm going to lose a third of my patients. Yeah. And good, because then maybe I can let the staff go too. So this will be fine. Anyway, moving forward to now, how are we getting out of insurances and how are we doing all of that? I think we're back to the last podcast. We talked about this back, last September, August, whatever it was. We talked about, mostly for me at that time, was Medicaid was the most recent thing we had dropped in 2020.
Correct. Yeah.
Because of the pandemic and just not being able to keep up with, when Medicaid's paying you $18 for an exam and my N95 was $10, but I got to get one for everybody on the team. Like, that's not sustainable. That's not going to happen. And then the extra person that I had to hire to make sure that Medicaid would pay the $18.
Yeah.
Because the mom had to designate me as the provider. Because I wasn't designated the provider, I'm not going to get paid that $18. So all of those logistical things was just like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So now looking forward, as we've been...
Yeah, well, and you found out, so even though you had dropped MetLife, all of a sudden, and this is, again, going back to your complexity term, you have associates on staff and these umbrella companies have come into play. So then all of a sudden, your insurance lady is letting us know, I don't know what's going on, but we're getting in-network reimbursement from MetLife. And you're like, wait a second, we're out of network with MetLife.
So it gets even more ridiculous than that, okay? And to say that I've figured it out, I still haven't. That's how cloudy it is, and so shady comes to mind, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think this is where I take it I take it very personal for our profession. I think we are thought of as a shady profession, and I think this is why, because there are all of these things out of our control. And we look like the bad guy consistently. And now it's gotten even worse. Like, you'd think 2022 would get better. And I know the ADA is always fighting for, insurance transparency and all that. But there's only, there's so many fights they can pick with the Senate, and then how every state decides to. So it's a big machine, and it's big and blurry. The point is, it still has not gotten better. It's gotten worse. And I think now, and kind of looking at the aftermath of the pandemic this far along, and what we've talked about in our last couple of podcasts, that it's not getting better with staff. And so I hate to be a negative Nelly here. I guess I'm just kind of sharing what I've kind of been through, and hoping that we try to get some tips out of this.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back to revisit this in another podcast, I know, but it's still kind of raw for me at the moment. But when I say there's been drama in my office, you've been front and center.
Yeah. Putting it lightly.
That's putting it lightly. And it started mid-February, and I thought February was awful. And then what's transpired in the last 2 weeks was just stuff I never thought I'd deal with. And, I'm grateful to you, because I don't know. Anyway, it's still kind of raw. I'm not ready to talk about it just yet, but suffice it to say, as of today, this hour as we're talking, I'm sitting here going, okay, I'm going back to the why, and what, and then the what and the how. So if this whole staffing situation is so dire right now, and I'm wanting to kind of clean house. But if I clean house of everybody I didn't like, I would be left with 2 hygienists, maybe 3, 2 assistants, and 1 or 2 front desk, and my AR person. So already we've got maybe 3 more people on top of that right now, and it's still not enough to see the patients we need to see.
Yeah.
And I want to get rid of more, and you're advising me not to, and I hope I listen to you, but that's another conversation off the record here.
To be continued on that.
To be continued, yes. Because I'm just tired. I'm tired. I don't have time for the riffraff. I don't have time for I can't come in today because I don't feel good with this, or I'm just tired. Do you want to work or not?
Yeah.
And so anyway, let's get back to insurance with this. So I think for me, kind of looking back at it going, this is not sustainable anymore, because insurance reimbursement is so crappy. It's getting worse. Patients have gotten to an all-time level of craziness. Staffing has gotten to an all-time just deflating, maddening. So what game on the chess, what piece on the chessboard am I playing? Yeah. So then we started looking and going, okay, well, maybe it's time to drop another insurance, because I cannot keep seeing all these patients with the staff I've got right now.
Right.
And so we looked at Delta. I keep wanting to drop Delta, because I looked at the reimbursement the other day of something that we did. It's laughable. It's ridiculous. And I thought, golly, I just want to get off of Delta. So we reached back out to our company that's supposed to help with this. I'm not giving them a shout out right now, because I am almost not a client anymore of theirs. So I will keep their name out of this podcast. I don't know if they listen to it or not, but anyway, I don't have nice things to say at the moment, but that's another podcast.
Hopefully they will redeem themselves. If not,
I don't know. I keep chalking it up to they're also having staffing issues, but
they are.
Anyway, reach out to the company and say, hey, can you look at our numbers, our stats, what kind of hit are we going to take if we drop Delta?
Yeah.
So somehow from that conversation, I think where we ended up with that is our newer associate just signed a Delta contract. So if I get out of Delta and he's in Delta, then all the Delta patients are going to fall to his schedule, which means he's going to get paid like garbage, work his tail off, and then he's going to leave my practice because he's seeing all the Delta patients. Okay, so we can't drop Delta at the moment. So this company that optimizes and negotiates our contracts for us now was like, well, the next one that's low paying would be your MetLife. And so I kind of was like, well, we're not in direct MetLife, and sure enough, we're through this Carrington umbrella, and it just got more convoluted from there. Yeah. Because apparently for 3 years, we have known that I do not show as an in-network dentist under Carrington with MetLife, but 2 of my associates do show as in-network under MetLife through Carrington. And now the new associate is with me. So you've got 2 of us that are and 2 of us that aren't. Okay, so now what does that mean? And what do you mean this has been going on for 3 years? And so my manager, my AR person's like, we've been trying to deal with this company that's supposed to optimize for us to get that fixed. And again, this company, I guess, seemingly didn't know what they were doing for 3 years. And again, I guess at the end of the day, it didn't really matter. Like, the AR person was able to, frankly, I don't even know what she did.
Yeah.
How we get around. In theory, though, the two that are in network with MetLife under Carrington, we're getting paid Carrington fee schedule. But now, for some reason, they've decided to start paying the MetLife fee schedule.
Yep.
So I was like, this is all sounding very, like, we need to get to the bottom of this because the whole thing is weird.
Right.
And it needs to be very transparent. And I don't like when things are weird, and because ultimately it comes back on us.
Yeah.
So how do we fix this? So apparently, if I come in with MetLife won't do less than a 15% write-off. But if for me to get technically in network with MetLife through Carrington.
Right.
But if I do that with MetLife through Carrington, if I agree to the 15%, then I've got to agree to the 15% across the board with all of the negotiations with Carrington.
Yeah.
Which right now I'm at a 10%.
So why would it's a massive loss? Like, why would you do that?
So why would I do that? And then something, if we fix something, then the ones that are in are going to take a hit on. This is where I get lost. Yeah. And frankly, I just hit the off button. I'm like, I will never see, like, this whole thing. You know what? Get us all out of MetLife. Because one of the associates started her own practice earlier this year, so she's gone.
Yeah.
The other one is about to leave next month.
Yeah.
So he's gone. So that leaves me and the one who weren't on it to begin with. I don't know, man. But so now, I guess it's kind of I guess we've kind of been out of network, but kind of in network. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to qualify it. But apparently now we are, here's the next onion layer. So I guess when you drop, like, if I was directly through MetLife with MetLife and put Carrington aside, and I decide to get out of contract with them, I have 90 days, I believe. So I can say, okay, here's my letter MetLife on May 1st. And 90 days from that, I know I'm to be out of network. So I can plan my strategy on verbiage for what am I telling the patient? Am I sending a letter? And I know you've got thoughts about that, so we can talk about that here. Am I sending a letter alerting my patients? Like, what is our strategy for alerting our patients? Well, it turns out that since me being in network, some people in my office being in network
not you.
with MetLife through Carrington, it is a opt-in. So it is optional for me to be in network with them, so I can opt out. Great. Well, they don't have to tell us when we are opted out. So it could take a week or it could take 2 months.
Right.
Okay. Well,
now there's this new unknown.
Right. And apparently, if I was directly with MetLife, MetLife would send a letter to the patients alerting them that we are no longer in contract. When we opt out, MetLife won't be doing that. So all of that comes on us. So it's actually, now that I think about it, it's probably a good thing, because who knows what MetLife puts in this letter. Probably put your dentist has opted not to help patients, and who knows what they can say about us. So maybe this is good. This is in our hands. Well, so in our particular situation, because of this company and their staffing issues, let's be kind and put it that way and go with that assumption. I had to follow up, and I asked, okay, so where are we with this opt-out? Oh, well, didn't you get the papers? No, didn't get any papers. Story of our lives, the last 3 years. Nope, didn't get the papers. Can you please send them? And being the very, I have had it person now, like, I can be nice for a long time, and I have had it, and then I'm not very nice. And I am copying the president of the company on every one of my emails now. Yeah. And so, I'm like, I'm going to be that squeaky wheel now. Yeah. Like, I am sticky and oily, and I am coming. I'm not being nice anymore. So anyway, so finally he starts replying, and, they had the nerve, poor company, had the nerve to send out an evaluation. We value our clients, and we're always trying to improve. Oh my gosh, I did not hold back. I was brutal. But again, it wasn't just me having a little B-fest. I really do feel like, okay, if you're saying you want to help, then you need a wake-up call, because this is... And they, they're constantly sending emails out. Oh, we strive to do this. And I see them on the ADA or like whatever it is. We're doing this seminar. And I'm like, you're full of nonsense.
Yeah.
Look at yourselves and really look at your services.
Yeah.
So I think the very direct, unfiltered feedback, if they're listening, and maybe you just went to spam for all I know. Anyway.
But at least you felt better getting the...
At least I did. So,
well, and their job, it's the primary reason that they exist was not being managed in your practice. Because again, all this time you've been out of network with MetLife, and then through this convoluted mess of the insurance world, you are not in network. Two of your associates are under the Carrington umbrella with MetLife PDP Plus, but that still messed up claims that even you, being completely out of network, were being paid on. Not to mention, then the fee schedule got weird, where they were paying far less, which is, again, one of the things that your AR person noticed, like, what's going on? Why all of a sudden are we getting super... It's just, to me, that story is an example of how messy this insurance world is right now. Because you thought, I got a clean break from MetLife, I'm done. And yet, somehow, through all these weird contracting, you're somehow connected with it, or two of your people are, and then even the fee schedule that they should be using is not being used because it's all of a sudden the MetLife fee schedule.
So I think you just pointed out, because that for me, that shed some light, because to me, I think this whole time, because it's not like we've just been under Carrington for this year. I mean, we've been in for about 4 years now, and I hadn't heard a peep from our AR, and it seems like it's not bad. And I think that's what happened now in the last 3 months. Mm-hmm. She was like, wait a minute, all of a sudden we're getting paid on MetLife's fee schedule, not the Carrington fee schedule. Mm-hmm. And so I guess whatever's gone on between Carrington and MetLife, who knows? And maybe they're all trying to recoup losses, and MetLife is hoping nobody notices, or maybe they have their own like fine print stuff with it. I mean, like, we'll never know.
Yeah.
But you're right. That's what's happened these last couple of months. So she finally was like, wait a minute, what is this?
Yeah.
And then that's where the onion layer exploded, where we're like, wait a minute, I'm not in network, but I'm not ever going to be, because then I have to take this, I got to do that. And like, what am I paying y'all for? Y'all are supposed to be looking out for that.
Yeah.
And so we finally were just like, you know what? We're out now. When I call and I ask, when are we opting out? Mm-hmm. When are we? Well, they're not going to tell you when like, you'll just have to. You may figure it out midday. Like, you may log in the morning and see that you're still listed as a provider, and then by 1:00 you might be listed as out. They're not obligated to tell you.
Yeah.
How is that even legal? But okay, well, you're saying my paperwork was submitted. Can you at least tell me that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we submitted it for you on March, whatever. I was like, okay, so if you're saying it takes about 4 weeks, it could take a week to about 4 weeks is the usual time frame. So we're there now, because this was at the end of April, a couple weeks ago. We're there, and they're like, yeah. Okay, so when were you going to tell us
that this was... We need to start communicating with our patients on this.
Yeah. So then you can only imagine the email I sent the president of this company at that point. And then we are having to scramble. And mind you, we're already having every staffing issue under the sun right now. So for us to scramble on this, and my office manager was like, oh, well, I was going to work on this. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Yeah. We've got to work on this today.
Yeah. Yesterday.
I think even you were like, no, we're going to come, we had a manager meeting coming up, and you're like, okay, we can talk about it then. I was like, no, Bethany, I don't think you understand.
Like,
this is like happening like as we speak.
Yeah.
Because apparently they opted us out a month ago, but didn't tell us they opted us out. Even when I asked last week, they were asking me if I gotten the paperwork. Well, apparently somebody signed this paperwork and submitted it back at the end of March, but nobody knows who or what or why. Like, it is a cluster. And so anyway, I think you had a point of why I'm sharing.
Well, to me, it's a good metaphor for not just with MetLife, but what I'm seeing across the board with just the confusion of insurance. I mean, I can remember a time, I've been in the field a long time, but I can remember a time where it was cut and dry and it was simple. And it has become increasingly complex. And to add to some of the things that you saw on your side, some of the things that I'm seeing on my side, I was at a practice yesterday, and she has been noticing, and this will be one of the tips that we'll make here in a minute, but good detail person that was managing these insurance checks, and she was noticing a company that was dropping payments by cents, like cents on the dollar. It'd be, dropping 25 cents this time, dropping 75 cents next time. So she noticed, because she was super detailed and she knows how that fee schedule, she's like, wait a second, why are these things being... So they're literally trickling down the decrease. And thankfully she's aware enough to notice. I had one office that I was in, actually a pedo office, where their, rule of thumb is we take a pano at about 6 years old, at least when the molars erupt. That's when we're taking it. That's been their norm. That's what they do. That's their standard of care. All of a sudden they've gotten some payments from insurance company, or some checks from insurance companies saying, oh, we don't start pano coverage until 8 years old. Really? Well, that's quite unfortunate for the patient.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So that's a new change. A lot of insurance companies are applying deductibles to x-rays now. So this whole free cleaning model is going away, in my opinion. It's not gone yet. There's still some that pay in full. But I think that's what they're trying to do. I've seen the percentages being dropped. So, preventative has historically always been 100%. And then, of course, if you're perio, it's a different percentage. But now I'm seeing just regular preventative care. A lot of those are being dropped to 80%. Now, patients aren't being informed. They're confused by it, just like the dental office is. Like, when in the heck has 80% been normal on a preventative appointment? So we're scrambling. Dental offices are scrambling in the moment to try to get good answers for these patients. Of course, you have heard, I'm sure, about companies that are a little bit more bold in their cuts. So Cigna is one of the big companies that even sent out notices to all of their in-network offices saying, hey, we're just cutting, it was from a range of 10 to 20%. We're cutting back 20% across the board. So that's your new fee schedule. Basically, take it or leave it, which is a massive drop. So I would say, in addition to all of this convoluted, am I in network, am I out of network, what about this umbrella company, and how do I maximize this and optimize that? It is mind-boggling and confusing, but also just all the other stuff that's changing with all of these little random new rules like x-ray frequencies. And
so how does that work? Like, if the patient, like, say their company, say Costco negotiated with Delta Dental, like, I'm assuming then, does that contract say that they can change their fees whenever they want? They can change their coverage whenever they want. So how is that legal then as a consumer, as a patient, to purchase this insurance?
Yep. And also, on that note, speaking of contracts, I just was reading through some new contracts. So insurance companies, this is, again, something that's really irritating about them, is they're very careful with putting that contract out. It's like literally tackling Fort Knox to get a copy of your contract. I've had offices that request, can we please have a copy of our contract, and just never comes. Oh yeah, we're going to fax that to you, and it never comes. Why are they so picky with their contract? Because they're not in contract. We're in contract with whatever they say their contract is in that moment. So I got this new contract from a startup client of mine, and I was like, hallelujah, I'm finally getting to read a contract. I've been trying to look at one of these for years, and I can't seem to get my hands on one. And so this was a fresh one that I've had in the last couple years, and so I was reading through all of the fine print. It is unbelievable what they want that in-network doctor to agree to.
Yes.
And they're initialing on those lines. So one particular line that stood out to me in this contract was anything on the EOB that says, patient does not owe, the doctor agrees not to charge the patient for that. Well, that sounds all reasonable and fine. I mean, on the surface, you're like, okay, yeah, I get that. Except when I am looking at claims day after day when I'm auditing, and I see a claim that says, treatment breakdown, and there's nitrous, which is exorbitantly expensive right now. So nitrous, whatever, $75. Patient pays $0. Insurance pays $0. So now Mr. New Doctor has signed a contract that says, okay, basically I provided nitrous. as a service, but I agree to this contract that says that I'm not going to charge the patient for that. Holy moly, no. It is not legal, especially in the state of Texas. This will be for our listeners that aren't in the state of Texas. They'll have to look at their state laws. But in the state of Texas, we are protected by a law that says the insurance cannot dictate what we charge the patient when something is not covered. Period.
Thank goodness.
End of story. So for that, so when I was looking at this contract with my client, I said, you are going to be signing this contract because you're going to network with this company, but you are going to break that contract on day one. And I want you to know you're just going to have to be okay with that. Because they can't have you agree to that. It's unethical, it's illegal, blah, blah, blah. Right. And that's the only time he'll ever see that contract again. Let's say 10 years from now, he's still in network with that company. They will not produce a new contract for him. So it is completely a dysfunctional relationship. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, that's where, again, I want to say it was Medicaid. Maybe it was a different insurance company, whatever. But some of the fine print in there that says, I'm on call 24 hours. I will see the patient at, like whatever, like some crazy something. And I was like, and then, yeah, I could get sued by somebody for not like coming in at 3 a.m. for the cleaning they want. So there's a lot of things that I haven't signed in the past because I'm like, this is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And it's, to me, the point you made earlier is it's always been kind of a weird, I think, setup or confusing, but ultimately it's gotten much more confusing over the last couple years. And I think insurance companies are making a lot of changes that make it more confusing. One of my tips, which is you referred to her, your account receivable person and the one that I was talking about are detailed enough that they're noticing the changes. They're reading through that EOB. They're not taking it just at face value. So a lot of offices have AR people that will look at that EOB, drop straight down to the patient pays portion, and that's what they assume, and they zero out the rest. And we cannot have that happening anymore because EOBs are getting very tricky. I was literally looking at an EOB the other day, and I look at EOBs all the time, and I was going, what am I missing here? The math is not adding up. I spent 15 minutes digesting that stinking EOB to figure out what the patient actually owes, not what that column says. And I thought to myself, this took me, I've been in the field forever, pretty good at math, and I sat there and looked at that EOB, and it took me 15 minutes to figure it out. And so we've got to support our AR people. First of all, we need to have as good of one as we possibly can. You've got an excellent one, but they've got to be detailed enough to read fine print, to look at those little clauses at the bottom, and to find their loophole for charging the maximum dollar amount. I think somebody like you have, she's been in the field for a long time. She's looked at thousands upon thousands of EOBs, so her eyes are just tuned to see what's wrong with a claim. And so she's super valuable for that. She is the one that alerted us to the fact that all of a sudden MetLife was paying these weird fees. Thank God she did, because that opened up this whole Pandora's box that you didn't even know was going on behind the scenes. So I think every office needs to have a good person looking at their AR. I think if you don't have that, and again, a lot of startups or younger practices may not have the ability to have this really great AR person, then the doctor needs to become proficient in really looking at those EOBs, which sounds awful, but it's better than money walking out the door.
So, I mean, I think that leads to a bigger problem and possibly another podcast here. But again, kind of where I started going, I can't stand my staff. I can't find anybody that I can stand. And even the ones that I've tried, we recently let one go at the 90 days. Who lets somebody go right now? Who's letting, people are like, are you out of your mind? We can't find anybody and you let somebody go. Did she steal from you? Did she curse at a patient? Did she bring a gun into the office? No. We just all couldn't get along. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah.
And then I'm wanting to let another one go, maybe two, and you're going, Kuba, I wouldn't do that for you. But I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm so tired. If I'm going to have to go back and start reading my own damn EOBs, then I get something, maybe I only want to read 10 of them then. I've only have support staff to see 10 patients anyway. Again, in pedo, 10 is like what we see in the first hour of the morning. So, for general, y'all are probably going, what? No, for
10's
pedo,
plenty.
Yeah, for us 10, it's like that's what we see between 7:20 and 8:20. And so I think, but that's where I'm kind of like, okay, well, if that's what I've got the support staff for, and maybe I'm going cold turkey out of just going fee for service.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to do. Like, what's the best way to solve this problem? So, all or none. Which has always been my personality. So thank goodness for Bethany to coach me through. But again, yeah, if I'm gonna have to do my own AR before long, and yes, I love my AR person. She's been with me forever, but I'm gonna go back to what I said before. February has been where the bottom has dropped out. I trust nobody one anymore. I trust no one. And so she says she's happy.
Yeah. Let's hope that's true.
I take that with a grain of salt at the moment. So, I mean, if this is good for me to know that the reality really may be, because I'm thinking in my mind, okay, I'm going to have to scale all my own patients. I'm going to automate the front desk. I'm going to figure out how to automate all of that. And call my cousins in India, hey, doing call centers still? Like, what are we doing here? And, I'm just trying to think outside the box to see, but could I have automatic check-in and automate all of that? I'm working on it.
Yeah.
That way I don't have to have a front desk, and that I don't need a hygienist because I'm going to do all my own scaling.
Yeah.
And then I need an assistant. So
there
it's
like
me and one other person. And so now I need to add AR to my list.
You do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got to go back to do those EOBs.
Unless you want to do the EOBs.
Unless I only take cash.
Unless you're fee for service and they have to file their own claim, and then you don't have to worry about it at all.
Is this where I need to learn about crypto?
Exactly. Career number 2. You never know.
That's all I got for you.
No, I really do. I mean, it sounds crazy that would be my suggestion, especially in light of our last couple of episodes where we were really focusing on reducing stress and all of that. To think of a doctor having to look at EOBs only if you feel like you don't have somebody that's super detailed and proficient. I think the other suggestion would be randomly audit some EOBs just to have familiarity with what are they saying, because it is a skill to actually learn how to read that EOB. So I think even just the practice owners becoming proficient in what does this say and
where do I buy the hours and the days to add on to? Because if it took you 15 minutes.
Yeah, that was a complex one. But yes. And it may not be a daily thing. It may be once a month. You ask your AR person, hey, hand me a few claims randomly, and just flipping through and getting familiarity with them I think would be good. I think it's ideal to have a strong AR person.
Do you have a number to a good DSO? That's my take home from this.
Nope, I don't. They do not. Well, I won't say that. No, I don't. I'll stop there. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Get you a good AR person, or keep your good AR person if you have one. And then I think tip number 2 would be to audit a few EOBs just on a monthly basis. I think the third tip that I would say is it is worth watching numbers a little bit more carefully right now as far as write-offs are concerned. So I'll give you an example. A client that I was with yesterday, and we've been working on, I think all dentists for the most part have this really big heart, and they're like, oh, I feel bad charging that amount. Let me charge less for, gosh, that feels better to me. Like, I want to take care of this patient, so we're going to write off some. And so we've really been working with this office on don't do that. Like, just your fee is your fee, and we got to make up for these increasing costs. And so we've gotten write-offs down. So he's pretty much primarily in network, and we've gotten them down to about 39% write-off, which is pretty good for an in-network office, to be perfectly honest. It sounds crazy, but 39% is pretty good. So over the last few months, I saw it creep back up to 44%. And again, 5% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking $150,000 a month, that's massive. And so we saw this creep back up, and then as I was looking, we realized it was insurance write-offs, either elective write-offs like, oh, insurance decided not to pay for this PA, so we'll just write that off, or actual write-offs where the computer said the fee should have been this, but when we got the check in, it was $10 lower than what we were expecting. now we have to write that off. So those write-offs had also increased. All that to say, it all added up to a 5% difference. And I think if a practice owner is aware of what is my steady write-off and what is consistent, then if nothing else, even if you're not looking at EOBs, you realize, wait a second, I was writing off 39%, 4 months ago, and now all of a sudden I'm at 45. What in the heck is happening? If we can catch that fast enough, then we have the strategy to be able to do something about it. And strategies could be very well what you did, which is, years ago when you were like, forget it, I'm done with MetLife, like, boom, out of network, because that's absolutely an option. It could be that you're providing some additional training for your AR person. Maybe she was writing some things off electively. She needs a little bit of extra support. Maybe it's that you're rethinking your strategy altogether on insurance. But I think if we know that the write-offs have changed, then we have the ability to do that. I'm trying to think of any other trends that I could kind of comment on. I feel like you knew about, I feel like I've kind of bellyached about most of those to you, but can you think of any other things that you've seen changing on the insurance side?
I haven't, just because I can't stand any of that, right? I think most dentists, we don't want to look at the money. We want to do good dentistry and help our patients.
Yeah.
And of course we got to get paid for it. That's part of it. But, no, I think most of us definitely bury our head in the sand when it comes to this. And so I guess if nothing else, like that's kind of a good take home for most of our podcasts is get your head up out of the sand and take a look.
At least look.
'Cause it's not going away.
Yeah. And I would say get you a good baseline. So don't just look at your numbers now, because they're going to be substantially different than they were for your practice 2 years ago. So go back, get that baseline from a couple years ago and see what's truly changed. It will absolutely have increased as far as the write-offs, what the amount that you're losing. You just need to figure out if there's anything that you can do about it. And I think training your staff to prepare your patients for balances. We don't know, to your point earlier, it makes us look shady because we really don't know what to tell the patients. Every day's a new day with insurance. And so we've got to do a lot of shifting of that language to let's see how your insurance, we always hope that your insurance is going to help you out on this, but we never know. So if they choose not to pay for something, we'll definitely send you a bill in the mail. I'd much rather than be prepared for a bill and we've kind of primed that pump than to not say anything and then they're mad about it.
So this may be, well, I'm just going to ask you, we're going to have to dive into it. I was about to say, do we have time to talk about this? And is this the right timing? A, do we have time? B, is the timing right? I'm just going to throw it out there.
Well, I hate to leave you on a cliffhanger, but Dr. Kuba and I dive into a whole new subject matter related to this mad world of insurance. So we go on for another 30 minutes, and I wanted to break this up into 2 different episodes. So you'll have to stay tuned for part 2 of the insurance mad world. Thanks for listening, and I look forward to you joining us back next week. Thanks for joining the conversation today. We hope that you are comforted in knowing that you are not alone, but we also hope that you're walking away with some really great tips and tricks to try in your practice. We value your feedback, so please take a few moments to rate and review the podcast. Finally, we want to make sure that we're covering the topics that matter to you. So track us down on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what topics you want us to cover. As always, please know that we are rooting for you today as you manage your dental drama.